Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are. Hello and welcome to episode 213 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris, and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time I read Black Moon Rising by Frankie Rose, also known as Callie Hart. This was requested by Patron Miles May, who said, "Since I requested 2 books in a row that were both deeply political, I figured I'd instead give you guys something lighter. Published Star Wars fanfiction."
Ah, yes.
The book I'm referring to is Black Moon Rising by Frankie Rose and Callie Hart. It says there, but Callie Hart is Frankie Rose. It's just a pseudonym. She's far more successful as Callie Hart. She has many, many romance series of all different flavors and kinds out there. She's probably best known for the Quicksilver series, which is her like romantasy thing. She's thought all the Fourth Wing and Court of Thorns and Roses happening out there, and she's like, I can do that too.
Wait, so she made up another identity to make it seem like there were 2 authors?
So Black Moon Rising is the only work published under the Frankie Rose name, and it was deleted from the internet for the most part.
Oh, no.
I had to find this on like Internet Archive, which resulted in some stuff that I will get into later.
Oh, yes.
But I believe, this was attempted to be scoured from the internet, perhaps for a good reason. Anyway, so continuing with what Miles May said, YouTuber Jenny Nicholson actually did a video on this, and to give you an idea of how egregious it is, it starts with a prologue that feels designed to be turned into a Star Wars text crawl. It then jumps directly into the protagonist, whose name is literally Reyza, having a graphic sex dream involving the main antagonist, Jass Baylar. Also, while the main characters are both obviously meant to be Rey and Kylo, they're also simultaneously both Finn, because I guess the author didn't want to put a Finn stand-in in. Now, you're having a reaction to the name Jass Baylar.
Sorry, just Star Wars names or Star Wars-esque names are just always funny. They're always a little funny.
They are. While reading this, I actually think I had a revelation or something that I would like a theory to test with you here. I think to generally get in the Star Wars name area, you do something like 2 syllables, 1 syllable, or 1 syllable, 2 syllables, and there has to be like a little bit of like maybe some sort of like, not a direct onomatopoeia, but something that sounds like it could be an onomatopoeia.
Do you think internal rhyme is part of it too? Or
maybe, but so like Jass Baylar, Han Solo, Chewbacca, right? Like all this kind of thing. I think if you take like your name, your actual name, and you like pull 1 syllable from your first name, 2 syllables from your last name, or the reverse, 2 syllables from your first name, 1 syllable from your last name, and kind of fuck with it, you can get into Star Wars name territory.
T. Parabo of the Corlax Nebula, you know.
Yeah, Ris Parabo. No. You'd be like Par Eba or something like that. And I would be like Oaf Musi or something like that.
Yeah, there's got to be a formula. What is the formula to generate a Star Wars name?
I told you, it's 1 syllable, 2 syllable, or 2 syllable, 1 syllable. That's what you do, and then you've got your Star Wars name.
But it also has to sound kind of bulbous and spacey. I don't know. Those are the yeah. Anyway, it worked here with Jass Baylar, and then the other character's name.
Is it possibly because the name Jass is just the tail end of the joke name Hugh Jass? So the whole time I was just thinking Hugh Jass Baylar. He's got the Hughiest Jass there is in the galaxy, and boy, does Reyza want to fuck him for it. Anyway, I'm back on topic here.
You know, in my mind, I remember when this movie was popular or was just come out, and everyone was taking that meme of Adam Driver with no shirt on, and they were just like making it stockier and stockier, and that's who Jass Baylar is in my mind. It's like the ultimate stocky version of that meme. That's Jass Baylar.
Oh yeah, there is definitely scenes with his shirt off that are just an homage to that moment there. They squished him down until like his Jass was Hugh enough at that point, so that he truly became Hugh Jass Baylar. Okay. Getting back on track, if this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. Sometimes we read books that our patrons, listeners, or friends recommend. So we do the opposite of what most people do in a bookstore or while they're browsing the internet. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we end up liking the book. In addition to our usual barnyard language, today's episode includes the biggest serving of I can fix him you've ever had to swallow.
Choking it down. Oh, God.
It's like being hot for a mass murdering tool of a fascist empire turned up to 11.
Oh, that sounds real
There's
bad.
not much actual violence aside from like a little bit of mild rough sex that's like, you know, mostly a little biting here and there, maybe like pinning people down.
Yeah.
That is trying to be presented in that I shouldn't want this from him, but I do style that all these like dark tinged romance books seem to love.
Oh,
so,
yes.
You know, playing around with that idea. We love that. But that's about it for content.
Yeah, that hasn't been written about to death or anything by this time in the year of our Dark Lord 2025.
Okay. So I'm going to read the like back of the book summary, even though I did not purchase a published copy of this because there are few in existence. I made the mistake of grabbing an Internet Archive PDF off this because I was like, oh, this will be fine. And then like come to find out by the time I started reading it, there was like some horrible translation stuff going on in some ways. There like I don't know how to explain it other than like at the beginnings of chapters, there will just be like a random smattering of nonsense characters that I think might be something in like how this was ripped into a PDF form of like there might have been like little wingding characters or something happening. Like every chapter kind of starts with like random letters. It's like WY space AX space /
yeah, it was probably
WXPY.
It was probably like a graphic or something, and they just didn't bother.
Yeah.
They just ripped it, and it just came over in gobbledygook. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the time I started reading it, it was too late to order a hard copy from like thrift books or something.
Uh-oh.
So we'll get into that in the rubric scoring system later on. I did watch a little bit of the Jenny Nichols video just to see if a lot of the typos that I was finding were also present in the hard copy that she was reading in the video. And some of it was there, but not
Really?
the things that I found that were like horrendously egregious. So, for example, the letter I in my version of this had some real problems in here. It would be often replaced with a capital T or a capital P for I don't know what reasons. So it'll be like, instead of like I went to the store, it'll be like T went to the store, and like I'll go do that will be like pull go do that instead.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's hard to read.
We'll get into that in Cereblo's presence, but I just want everyone to be aware that I got a fucked up version.
Sounds like Cereblo blessed your copy is what happened.
Yes, I made sure to like check out other reviews of this to make sure I didn't get some like early draft or something.
Yeah, that sounds
everything that I read that has to do with like plot and dialogue, that was fine. I got that part of it. So, but I wanted to be clear in the run up to this. Anyway, I was about to read the back of the book summary, but what I was trying to say is that there wasn't one in the PDF that I found. So I had to go to Goodreads, and this is the summary that was on the Goodreads page.
Okay.
I am not the man you think I am, I tell him. Probably not, but isn't that wonderful? There's every possibility you could be so much more. Jass has been the construct's creature for years, a sinister prince, a man of shadows and fear. People cower at his feet. They cater to his every dark desire. Who would dare defy the most dangerous man ever created? No one, except for her. Reyza's been on the run for 7 years. She's found peace on her hidden planet, managed to build some semblance of a life for herself there. But when the man she fears most in all the galaxy finally learns of her location, she must face him in order to escape his wrath once and for all. A sea of stars separates them, but even that won't keep them apart. So that's the trying to pull you in thing here. I am going to give you the characters and setting here, and
Wait
then
a second,
I will
Chris.
present you.
You didn't
Yes.
read the last sentence, which I found most interesting because the name is different.
Oh, it is. I didn't even notice that. I just admitted that because, like, who cares that Black Moon Rising is a full-length science fiction romance by USA Today bestselling author Callie Hart. But then it says writing as Frankie Campbell, which is not Frankie Rose. That's different.
Yeah, so
good
I
catch
thought that
there.
was
I was just omitting that because I was like, that's not important, but I guess it is.
Frankie. So Frankie Campbell, Callie Hart, Rose, Frankie Rose, Callie.
Yeah,
Hart,
who knows
Campbell?
what the real name is, but it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Okay. So again, like I was saying, I'm going to give you the characters and setting here, and then a long-form summary that I have written of this book. The format this season is that I'm just going to let you hear what this book was about. You did not read it. I did, so I'm going to recount it to you in my own words, and you can react as you please, interrupt whenever you have a problem, of which you will have many.
Is there going to be trivia today?
No, I like free form answers, Paris. I don't like multiple choice and trivia stuff. I just like to ask you questions about.
Yeah, is there going to be questions? I guess maybe I should have said that.
Oh yeah, I got a couple. I got a handful.
Yes,
for
I love
us
it.
Here. So that will happen as well. But let's set the scene here. Our setting is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Or wait, no, because we have to be legally distinct. So a short time later in the same damn galaxy, pretty much.
So a sort of long-ish time ago in a galaxy that's kind of far away.
Well, maybe. That's, you know what? Something's going to come up later that might have an effect on. Okay, so one of our main protagonists is Reyza, who is definitely not Rey from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Not even that legally distinct because she's barely a character, much like Rey was kind of barely a character in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Have you watched the Star Wars sequel trilogy, Paris?
I saw Rogue One, which I actually loved, which is weird for me.
That's not the sequel trilogy.
I did see the one with her and the Adam Driver, but like I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I was not on board with that.
Okay, well there was 3 movies with her and Adam Driver. So do you remember
I saw
if it was
the one
Force
where
Awakens or
I saw the one where it was like they're actually in love, and I was like, how? We didn't establish that at all. What the fuck?
That's probably the Last Jedi, I think, is what you're talking about. Real weird that you saw the middle one, which was honestly the odd one out in that trilogy.
It was really not good. I was like, this is very bad.
You know how that thing where it's like they have a connection and they might be in love?
Doesn't make any sense.
Like,
yeah.
That is the crux of which this whole book is based around, is just like playing around with that.
So she took the worst thing in that trilogy and was like, I'm going to spin this out into a book. Like,
okay, well, for some reason, like, since The Force Awakens came out, there's been the Reylo fandom, which is like the community of people that are really into the Kylo Ren and Rey possible romance.
Even though that doesn't make any sense. Like, I was watching that movie and I was like, what? How?
I don't know, man. Apparently, like, that's like a big enough deal that there are multiple published works out there that are just the Reylo fandom with the serial numbers filed off and the names changed.
Dude, Dude, I really feel like people just need to experience more media. It's like they see one thing and they're like, they latch onto it for 10 years. It's like, guys, just read and see other things.
Again, I like to say, like, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but I feel like I'm yucking people's yums a lot of the time, especially on this one where it's not like I'm yucking your yum. I'm just like, why is this engaging to you? There's like nothing here.
Yeah, why is this the yum?
Anyway.
All right.
To the point, like, I love that we just put "za" on the end of Rey's name to come up with the protagonist's name. Like, she was eating pizza that day, and she was like, I don't know, Reyza? Like a nice Reyza pie for everyone to snack on here.
She couldn't even have done a Zira? Like, backwards, a little different. Like, that would have been fine.
No.
Why
no,
do a Zira?
It's Reyza, okay?
Oh,
maybe it's Reza. It's Reza, so like pronounce that however you want. I said Reyza because clearly it's just Rey.
Yeah, it's just
But like
Rey.
I said, Reyza, like much like Rey in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, like barely has characterization. Like there's nothing here for the most part. Reyza's whole character is I'm connected to Jass Baylar and that makes me kind of horny. The end.
Cool.
Meanwhile, we have our other protagonist, Jass Baylar. She pulled out the name stops on that one a little bit harder by remembering Hugh Jass, I guess. He's the Kylo Ren stand-in here. So if you've seen the Star Wars sequel trilogy, it's Adam Driver, basically. Although the cover art on this one, he looks a little bit more Jon Snowy on the cover art for this.
Yeah, they don't look anything alike. That's weird.
The About the Author at the end of this book has a little line about like you'll catch her sometimes rewatching the Battle of the Bastards episode of Game of Thrones and screaming at the top of her lungs. So she's like also hot for Jon Snow, maybe. I don't know.
Why would you rewatch that episode and scream? That's very strange. I don't understand
really
people.
Am
I the alien?
Yeah.
Am I the alien? I don't know.
It's us. Okay. Remaining characters here. Cole Packa, a guy sent by the Seers on the planet Purius to bring Hugh Jass back to their planet for reasons.
Oh, okay. So are Seers a thing in Star Wars? I don't remember that.
No. I'll explain that when I get to the summary. Then we have Counselor Erica Packa, a seer and adoptive mother to Cole, who I just mentioned. Cole is actually not a seer. A seer is like an alien race. It's not like they're kind of the Jedis, but it's like a specific alien race that's like doing the Jedi thing.
Okay, got it.
And Cole is like the adoptive son to one of the counselors of this seer race.
Okay.
We have the Construct, the First Order stand-in fascist empire. That's led by a guy named Egregious, who's only ever in the book to be named as the leader of the Construct and doesn't really appear otherwise.
Okay.
We have Stryker, Jass's commanding officer. Stryker spelled with a Y, of course. We have Counselor Farron, who is a rival to Erica Packa, who's like also a counselor, so sort of political rival on the planet Purius. And then we have Darius, a seer who took care of Reyza when she crash landed on Purius and seems to maybe be in the upper echelons of the Purian political structure, but it's very vague and unclear. So
great, love it.
Whatever.
Vague and unclear. Our favorite.
Yeah. Hey, get ready, man, because that's most of this. Anyway, those are the main characters that you have to be acquainted with. And now I am going to jump into my summary for this, Paris. So, are you ready for Black Moon Rising?
All right, rise my black moon. Let's do it.
Okay, here it comes. And I will remind you, just jump in whenever you feel the need to.
Okay.
Okay, so we begin with a poor attempt at a Star Wars intro crawl that's like attempting to establish a little bit of background here and how we're legally distinct from the Star Wars universe. It mentions that, like, Earth was a thing and everyone had to leave Earth, like, a bunch of centuries ago, and then we populated the stars and everyone evolved a little bit differently, so there's, like, slightly different variations of human out there, and
so
that the Construct
Ninth
is
Colony
a thing.
again.
Yes, it's just Ninth Colony again.
Okay.
But the construct is the fascist empire that seeks to subjugate as many people as it can by doing the good old, like, hey, we'll just kill all of you until you decide to follow us method.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
real simple tactics here. So after that, we immediately begin with our viewpoint characters having an intense mind finger banging session.
Okay,
Now,
all right.
When I say mind finger banging, I mean they're doing hand stuff in their dreams, not like fingering your brain. So they're like together in a dream space.
So they're just like jerking it in a dream in the astral plane together?
Yes,
Okay,
essentially.
all right.
Reyza just can't get enough of Jass Baylar when she's sleeping, and just can't get enough of her. That's a problem for Reyza, since she knows Jass Baylar is a mass-murdering weapon of the construct, the fascist galactic empire that I just mentioned subjugates any civilization it can.
Yep.
It's so much of a problem for Reyza that her waking self actually completely forgets every dream encounter she has with Jass.
What?
But they pick up right where they left off once she's back in the dream state. Kinda, most of the time, not all of the time.
Hang on. So how does she know?
Hanging.
How does she know that it's not just a dream? Like, how does she know that this is actually another person on the end?
Okay, so this is established shortly when, like, they have a connection. Much like when you watch The Last Jedi and there's just, like, the weird no-reason connection that Kylo Ren and Rey have.
Didn't make any sense. Yeah.
Jass and Reyza also have the no-reason connection that is the thing that this whole story spins around is that. And it's never, ever, there's an attempt at explaining it, but it is complete fucking nonsense that we will get to. That isn't even really an explanation.
Because that's not how the Force works with anyone else, right? With any other pair of people.
Yes.
So, okay. I just want to make
far
sure.
As maybe in like the expanded Star Wars universe, there's something like that.
Know.
Lord knows we haven't dug into that enough to know if there like was precedent for this. But again, the point here is that we are dropped into this and just sort of expected to take at face value that they have this connection. That's how it works. And very little explanation is given for it in a way that makes me feel like you're expected to go into this understanding that it's just a Kylo Ren X-Ray fan fiction and that you're supposed to vaguely sort of accept things that are kind of like Star Wars, but not really without much explanation as to what the hell that really is. Yeah. So if you came in here without any Star Wars knowledge, I think you'd be adrift in a way that I don't think I've ever felt in any other thing that we've read. Okay, so like I said, Reyza like mind wipes herself every time she wakes up, or just like refuses to accept that this is a thing. But when she goes back into the dreams, they're like fucking in their minds again all the time. Why does Jass have telepathic and telekinetic powers? We're just supposed to accept that's a thing. We're given zero clues as to whether that's a common or rare or like known or unknown in this legally distinct galaxy. Like he's like known to be powerful and have these abilities, but like whether it's a thing that other people have or if this is a new thing that is happening, we have no idea. Zero context on that one.
Yeah.
But we are at least given some backstory as to how Reyza and Jass ended up where they are. Reyza is an orphan courtesy of the construct who raised her home planet and killed her parents. Then
that sounds
her
familiar.
Up to become...
Sounds pretty familiar. Yeah.
Then they scooped her up to become a soldier within the construct.
Right.
There's a lot of brainwashing and conditioning happening. Jass Baylar is also around at this time, although he's not in the same brainwashing classes or whatever as Reyza, since he's older and in possession of supernatural abilities and was scooped up from a planet that was entirely depopulated except for Jass alone as a child amidst ancient ruins.
What?
Yes. So Jass was discovered on a planet that had like abandoned or ancient civilization on it by himself.
That's not canon, right? That's not like part of the Star Wars.
I don't know. No, it is not, as far as I remember right now. But so child Jass was on this planet surviving by himself somehow. And the construct was like driving by and they noticed him down there and they're like, oh, that's just like a kid down there. And then they find he has some crazy supernatural abilities. So they're like fast-tracking him and doing special training with him because of this.
I mean, like, I can kind of buy that maybe he ended up there, I don't know, maybe his parents died in a crash and he was like, I don't know, I'm just surviving. And I guess the construct always needs more soldiers to burn through, so it's not completely out of the realm of reason that they would be scanning planets as they go by, and if they see somebody, they might be like, all right, let's grab that one, you know? But it is a little, like, it's a little fluffy, I guess.
Paris,
you know?
honestly, that's the least of my problems with this, so I also just accepted it at face value. Okay, so this, like, conditioning mostly works on Reyza up until, and here is my first question to you, Paris, a fun little game for you. What do you think is Reyza's trigger to be able to overcome years and years of brainwashing and conditioning to accept the order of the construct and become a child soldier for them?
Oh, obviously it's like falling in love or like falling in lust with someone, right? Like that's always the magic key. Like
sort of close. You're very close to the money here. The answer is puberty.
And they haven't factored that into the equation and the training?
Apparently not. It's like the book is like Reyza starts going through puberty and that enables her to question the conditioning, which, like, if you're regularly scooping up children to become child soldiers, the puberty happening is going to be a regular occurrence. So you think you would have accounted for that or something? Or there'd be a
chapter in the manual for that, for the conditioning. Like, all right, and they start wanting to fuck, this is what we do.
Or pick them up after the puberty, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, let that pass.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Grab the teens.
Right,
There's still plenty of, you can mold that brain, I think, still a little plastic. So yeah, plain old puberty hormones are enough to undo all that stuff. And Reyza seizes an opportunity to escape the starship she's on, the Invictus, when it takes a surprise missile barrage from a planet it was about to wipe out. So, like, it's damaged a little bit and the alarms are going off and she's like, all right, time to fuck off to an escape pod. But Jass Baylar sees her trying to escape since he's on the same ship and telekinetically holds the escape pod back. At the same time, Reyza feels Jass attempting to invade her mind, which she resists. It's at this point that they both become aware of the connection that they share, which manifests as a vague knowledge of the general region or area that the other one is, and dream meetings that Reyza forgets about, but Jass doesn't. This makes about as much sense as Kylo Ren and Rey's connection in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which is to say that it doesn't. Jass just kind of gives up trying to hold the pod back, but it's lightly damaged. So Reyza floats around in open space for like a week, slowly starving, until suddenly the automated piloting system is like, hey, do you want to land on that planet down there? And Reyza furiously taps the accept button.
Okay.
I want you to imagine, like, fat fingering that prompt or, like, missing the notification as it comes up on the screen.
Oh, no, I had the pod on silent the one time I needed to hear the notification. God damn it.
Oh, I guess you didn't want to land on the planet. I'll stop bothering you. You're the one that said silence notifications, so really it's your fault.
The pod is passive-aggressive, and that's terrible.
Okay, so the pod crash lands on this planet, and Reyza is taken in by the Seers, people with prominent brow ridges and clairvoyant abilities that live in an underground cavern network because of their light sensitivity, which is a shitty thing to have on a desert planet with two suns.
You'd think they would have evolved a little differently to accommodate for that. Yeah,
major
terrain.
Maladaptation there to be light sensitive on the double sun planet. So the Seers have foreseen a lot of interesting things. Namely, some of them have foreseen that Reyza and Jass Baylar will be involved in events that either completely destroy this planet named Pirius and the Seer population, or save them from the Construct's attempts to subjugate them, because the Construct doesn't know they exist over here yet. Okay. Because the Construct doesn't know that the Seers exist on this planet, because the seers don't use a lot of advanced technology, which is like how the construct detects civilizations. And the seers don't use advanced technology because the sand blocks certain kinds of electric signals or something.
What?
Yes. So do you have a problem here, Paris?
I don't know anything about sand's ability to conduct electricity, so...
It's like a shroud that, like, makes things harder with, like, communications technology or something. And everyone, the whole seer population is, like, in underground caverns that they have built out to be populated. So it's like a little dune here. Like there's like a little bit of spice on top of this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like electricity isn't a good conductor, but I don't know that it would.
You mean sand isn't a good conductor?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Sand isn't a good conductor of electricity, but like, I don't know that it would actively prevent you from using technology. I mean, we live on a planet with deserts where people are and have technology, so I'm going to say that doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, Paris, the science part of this science fiction thing, this is the least problematic of the science that happens in here. We will get to some even worse science later.
I'll throw them a bone. Maybe the sand on this planet is made of different minerals, right? Because sand on Earth
and it's like Faraday caging stuff in a way.
So maybe it's just
to be clear,
sand.
they still have some technology. They have like holographic projectors and shit down in the caverns.
Then what the fuck?
I don't know, man.
That doesn't make sense.
Like
decide.
Maybe it's specifically communications technology, although that's not even consistent later on. So I don't know.
Okay.
All right, continuing. So they have these clairvoyant abilities and they're able to foresee things often years and years in advance. And some of the seers have foreseen that the construct will be upon them by the time the next double eclipse happens. So by that, I mean like years and years ago, they foresaw that the construct will come at the time of a certain double eclipse. And they seem to know at this point in the timeline that it's the next one that's going to happen.
Right. Okay.
So the construct should be upon us soon, and Reyza and Jass Baylar could either save us or be our destruction, essentially. And again, this is only some of the seer population that has foreseen this.
Right.
Again, they foresaw that years and years ago before Reyza came to Piraeus, because Reyza's presence blocks the clairvoyance of all seers on Piraeus. So for 7 years, the 7 years that Reyza has been on Piraeus, no seer has been able to foresee anything since she's been there. Which to me seems like the biggest lease breaker I could possibly think of, right? Like if
you
you're
take someone in
planet,
and then can't see anything anymore. That's rough.
If you are a species of people with clairvoyant abilities that, according to this book, allows like crime to not be a thing. Like no murders have happened in centuries because everyone can foresee things, and that somehow prevents murders from happening.
They're like, yo, Pete, I know what you're gonna do in 4 months. And Pete's like, fuck, no. All right,
don't fucking try it, Pete. Listen, I saw you come in here and like strangle me. I'm just not gonna be there. Also, Pete, what the fuck?
Excuse me, T. Papar, I saw what you were going to do. Anyway.
Okay, so again, no clairvoyance is happening here.
Why would they be fine with that? I don't understand.
I don't know. I got the impression, again, because this is kind of vague and unclear, that not all of the seer population knows that this is because of Reyza's presence, but at least Darius, her caretaker, seems to know about this, as well as Counselor Erica Paca, who also seems to know that it's because of Reyza's presence that there's no clairvoyance happening. But because they had the vision before she came that she would be part of the thing that might save them, they're going to be like, okay, we're just going to keep you here because you seem to be integral to that part of the vision that we had.
Okay, all right.
At this point in the story, it seems that the seer prophecies are always true. Guess what, though? Later it's revealed that they are malleable. So,
Okay.
Who knows? My next question to you, Paris, is you're a seer who receives a vision that Reyza and Jass Baylar could either wipe out your civilization or save it, and Reyza is now here, and all of your clairvoyant abilities are shut off. So what is your course of action in this situation, Paris?
Put her in a floating pod above the planet so your clairvoyance comes back, and then you know what's going to happen.
Just test out the distance on this, just to see, like,
exactly.
okay, is if you're in orbit, we're all cool. So we're just going to send up some snacks up there every once in a while. So on top of that, they don't keep her in the subterranean cavern civilization. They keep her up in a shack on the surface. So they're not even really letting her down there all the time.
Why is she in a shack?
I don't know. They're just we don't want you around all the time, but just stay up there.
Maybe they're just worried about her getting nutrients from the sun. Gotta get that vitamin D. So
we heard you non-seers really need that vitamin D, and there's double vitamin D.
There's
double D up there. So
oh God.
Better take full advantage.
Yeah, so I guess I would do that. I would send her off world so that the clairvoyance would return, at least to test it. And the other prong of this would be ask her if she knows Jass Baylar, if they, try to get a sense of where her loyalties and sort of ethics lie, and then also try to keep tabs on Jass, and then if they do have a connection, try to exploit that to bend the prophecy to a more positive outcome, right? That seems like step one, get her off planet, get the clairvoyance back. Step two, kind of bond with her, figure out what her deal is, if she knows and has a connection with Jass, and if so, exploit that connection. That would be my course of action.
Okay, so they kind of do most of that, except the part where they take her off planet so they can get their clairvoyance back, which is
fucking
a critical thing that
fucking dumb, guys.
The rest of that they do indeed try to do. So, like I mentioned before, Reyza has some friends amongst the seers, particularly Darius, who seems to vaguely hold some high office, although it's never really clearly defined. She's also friends with Counselor Erica Paca, which is good, because Paca buys into the idea that Reyza will end up saving everyone with Jass Baylar, who, as a reminder, is a known quantity mass murderer of perhaps the most famous murderer in the galaxy.
Yeah, and the nature of a prophecy is saying these two people are either connected to saving us or to our demise. That could just mean they're involved in the final thing that turns the tide. It doesn't necessarily prophecies are so squirmy, and you'd think people would know that as people who are famously prophesizing all the time and receiving these things.
Do you think they receive you ever receive small time prophecies oh, you're gonna have some ice cream later? It's never that, right? It's never what are you gonna... You don't have to ever plan for lunch because you know what lunch you're gonna have later.
Yeah, it's true.
It's never that.
Yeah, it's never hey man, that dress you really wanted? You're gonna get it in March. Yeah, you're never waking up being you're gonna get a surprise toaster strudel today. Cool, man, that's great.
Or even an investment that you make. Is that a good idea or not? Are there only good investments on Pirius at all times because everyone could foresee that you're actually just running a crypto scam or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. It is strange that the prophecy stuff. It's always these big fluffy prophecies.
Yeah, it's never I foresaw myself wearing those pants at this party, so I'm going to wear those pants at this party.
Yeah.
Darius and Paca are aware of the fact that Reyza has some latent telepathic or telekinetic abilities and of her vague connection with Jass Baylar. They try to train her, Reyza, to use those abilities so that she and Jass can do whatever it is they need to do together. So this is also why Counselor Paca sent her adoptive off-worlder, and by that I mean Cole is a human and not a seer.
Okay.
Adoptive son Cole off into the clutches of the construct to be interrogated by Jass Baylar.
How
Real
does
big
that
gamble
help?
there.
How does that help?
They are attempting to get Jass to come to Pirius.
I see. Okay. So she sends her kid out as bait? That's fucked.
Yes. She's like, son, I need you to go off and get captured by the fascist empire that's out to subjugate us all. They will torture and interrogate you, but eventually, if you hold off enough, they'll send you to Jass to be interrogated because he can just rip things out of people's minds instead of having to torture it directly out of you.
But then he'd find out about their fucking plan.
Okay, well, we're getting to that in a second. So this gamble does work out because we do indeed cut to Jass interrogating Cole. Or really, he'd already been beaten up quite a bit until Jass comes in to try and pull the information from his mind about where Cole's people are. Jass breaks into Cole's mind and sees that Cole only knows about another person who knows about another person who knows about another person who knows where Reyza is. This is some kind of like information security plan, so Jass just can't grab the info from Cole and kill him and fly to Reyza's location instantly. Now you might be asking, wouldn't Cole just know where the planet is? And the idea is like, okay, that doesn't matter. What we want is that Jass is going to peer into Cole's mind and see that Cole knows Reyza, the person that Jass has been having mind sex with, dream sex with for like 7 years or whatever.
Wait, so Jass is cognizant of the mind sex, but Rey is not?
Oh, extremely. He is basically super obsessed with Reyza. That's the whole thing here, is that he is massively horny for Reyza at all times.
All right.
Because he has this connection with her, and he can do nothing but think about how hot and beautiful she is and all the mind sex that they have in his dreams. Yes. And again, he's 100% aware in his waking state about all of this. It is only Reyza who is not aware of like all the mind sex that they're having. She's aware of her connection to Jass Baylar, but only that they have a connection.
What? Okay, fine.
Do you have a problem here? Is there something?
Yeah, I just
point you'd like to raise?
understand the mechanism by which there is this wall. Like, why would there be a wall?
It's because Reyza feels guilty about having the dream sex, so she like blanks that out of her mind when she wakes up.
Yeah, I understand. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, but I don't. All right.
Okay, anyway. I just really wanted to be clear in case like that wasn't coming across that it's a very stupid reason.
All right, so Kylo Ren is like, or Hugh Jass is like, oh man,
yes.
you know where my dream sex lady is. I gotta find dream sex lady so we can have real sex, right? That's
yes,
the whole thing.
100%.
Okay.
That's the thing here. And again, Cole doesn't really know where like Reyza is on the planet. He just knows that
Pirius.
He knows she's on the planet, but Cole knows someone else who knows someone else who knows someone else who knows where Reyza is, and that's supposed to be the way that. Yeah, they breadcrumb trail. Hugh Jass down to Pirius without him just like going directly there. Except this is immediately dropped when they get like one person deep into the breadcrumb trail. And that person's just like, oh, actually, she's just over here. So, like, that whole thing is just not, like, they just go to Pirius eventually.
Oh, God damn it. Okay.
Jass decides, okay, I better fuck off to Pirius right now. But he's not really allowed to leave the starship he's on, which is, like, the Nexus, which is basically, like, a Death Star stand-in, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Sure. I think the Nexus is... The Invictus that I mentioned before is a Star Destroyer analog, and the Nexus seems to be a giant multi-city sized super weapon, sort of like here's where all the big wigs in the construct are stationed and they fly around.
Yeah, you definitely want to keep them all in one place. That's definitely how you want to run an evil empire. Just keep them all in one place. So easy to kill. All right.
Jass takes Cole off of the Nexus by stealing a Raptor, which is like a TIE fighter, I'm guessing. It's not really described super well. He's not supposed to do that. He doesn't tell anyone, like his commanding officer, Stryker, and he just flies away. but not without shaking some other construct raptors that are trying to chase him because, he just goes into like the hangar bay and is like, fuck you, I'm taking this shit. So he starts getting chased by construct raptors. But he goes through an asteroid field and he can make it through because he's a better pilot due to his use of the generic telekinetic powers that are strong enough to move asteroids.
Oh, so the author didn't rename the force?
It's just energy.
Oh, God.
It is just his energy. Like, Reyza and Jass always refer to it as their energy. Not even capital E. It's just their energy that they have. Anyway, Jass and Cole crash on Pirius, which is a problem for Jass because you see, the construct got him addicted to a substance known as light, which is essentially space opioids in some way.
Okay, all right. Uh-huh.
He brought a stash with him when he left, but the Raptor that they were piloting was destroyed in the crash landing, and the stash is gone. He has maybe 3 days before he suffers from withdrawal. Okay. He doesn't let Cole in on this, obviously, but he does frantically search for his stash amidst the wreckage while a sandstorm falls upon him.
That's like pretty, I guess I would say that sounds pretty standard for an evil empire to keep people pliant and under their control, right? Making them addicted to something. That's fine, I guess. Especially
since, Jass is a super powered telekinetic force user in this sense, so they got to keep him under control somehow.
I buy that.
Someone dart guns Jass with something that knocks him out, and he awakens within the cavern system on Pirius.
All right, now we're cutting to Dune, the Dune portion of the evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's aware that Reyza is near now, and they've still been having some dream meetings.
Reyza knows that query. Can't they just talk in the dreams? Why they just have to fuck and not speak? Oh.
No, they talk. They have conversations and shit all the time.
Okay.
Do you have a problem now again?
Yeah, it's fine. Just continue.
What's the problem? No, please.
Well, if they're able to talk in the dreams, why wouldn't they just be like, yeah, man, I'm over here. Come fuck me or whatever. Or I don't know.
Reyza in her dreams, even as she is doing the fucking, feels guilty about it because she still knows Jass Baylar is a mass murdering fuck and I shouldn't want this. But boy, oh boy, he's so hot. He's just so stocky and wide and shirtless that I can't help myself.
He's so square. All right.
I just can't get enough of his squareness. It's enough to override all the murdering that he does.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Okay. Reyza knows that Jass is on planet as well, but remains unaware of their dream trysts.
Sure.
So Jass wakes up and is generally a dick to everyone he encounters, which is pretty much just Cole, Counselor Ericapaka, Reyza, and even Darius, who offers to help cleanse Jass of his light addiction.
Oh, you just do that?
Because he can do that. He can just do that. Even though Darius doesn't know that it's light, he's like, I can tell that you're addicted to something and I can help you with that. And Jass is like, no, fuck you. Which, why? Because Jass doesn't necessarily, he likes the feeling of euphoria that he gets when he takes a dose of light, but he knows he's kind of fucked in 3 days or so.
Yeah, right.
And so he's just like, no, I'm going to tough it out. I'm just going to grin and bear it or something.
Well, he probably might suspect that it's just some kind of trick, right? And that they're actually going to do something else to him. So I guess in this context, with being taken by enemy combatants, sure, fine. All right.
Yeah. No one else on Pirius knows Jass on sight, so he can just wander around and be some off-worlder guy around weird. Everyone.
Okay.
Some people do know him on sight, a very, very small amount of people, but not really that many people. Or not the general populace. It's only higher ups, I guess. Anyway, Counselor Paka and Darius put Reyza in a room with Jass and are basically hey, you should convert him to our side with your connection. Wink, wink. They're basically why don't you go in there and flirt with them a little bit and maybe see if that works.
Okay.
Reyza and Jass have this tense chat where Reyza reveals that her waking self thinks that Jass is going to steal her energy And Jass is like, no, I want to combine our energy. I think it would be super powerful and cool as fuck.
Okay.
So why Reyza knows about this energy and thinks Jass has the ability to steal it or can steal it or even wants to do that is opaque as fuck. She just decides that this is his plan and that it can happen. Jass isn't really feeling ready to forsake the construct entirely, even though the whole reason he came here is literally just to fuck Reyza in real life. All of his inner thoughts this entire time have been like, God damn, I gotta get there and fuck, man.
Seriously, like his inner monologue in the Starfighter or TIE Fighter is like,
I have to get to her. I have to get to her to do the sex.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Anyway, they don't hash all that shit out right now about their relationship, and they just kind of go to bed. The next morning, Reyza is woken up by the sound of running in the hallway outside her room, and also the sudden realization of all the sex dreams she's had about Jass. They just like turned back on.
Did they have sex? They had sex though, right?
No.
What?
No.
That was the whole point. Oh, okay.
No, but Reyza, waking Reyza finds Jass to be repulsive, essentially.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Until now, when she wakes up the next morning after having seen him in person and like all of her dream time trysts with Jass come flooding back to her. So she is reintegrated in that way. And she now has all memories of her dream self and her waking self. And she's feeling a little squicky about it, but also now has the waking realization of how hot she finds Jass.
Okay.
Why did this happen now? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's not important because everyone's been summoned to the appointments hall because gasp, Chancellor Erika Paca has been murdered in the night. Someone broke into her room and stabbed her with a ceremonial dagger.
Okay.
Instead of seeking help as she was bleeding out, she instead penned 2 letters to her son and the people of Pirius in her final minutes.
Do you not think that maybe she wrote the letters ahead of time because she foresaw her own death?
No. It specifically says in her final minutes that she penned these letters. I guess they're either like a little bloodstained or something, so you could date them by that.
That's not possible. You can't write 2 letters while you're bleeding out. I'm sorry. I don't... Look, medical doctors, write in, but I don't think that's possible.
Also, I'm imagining the assassin that came in there and, like, stabs her once. And it's like, that's fine. At least before double-checking that she's really dead.
Yeah, you'd think you want to be thorough about that.
And, like, Paca just gets up and is like, looks down, sees herself stabbed. It's like, all right, time to write some letters.
That just does not, I can't.
I'm guessing it's a real, like, gig economy assassin, like a Uber Eats kind of style thing where, like, you order an assassination and he has some other shit to get to right then. So he just, like, really drops off the knife in Erika Paca and like,
it's like,
snaps a photo and sends it over.
The app is just called Ass because that's... Oh God, yeah.
It's called Ass Eats, actually. Why? It doesn't make any sense, but so does nothing else in this.
I don't know, man. I got the picture, and it kind of looks like she's like holding her arm, but she doesn't look very dead. Are you sure? Look, man, I gotta finish another ass, and then I can go back and check. But like, I can't check right now. I have to wait.
I'm not paying for this, man. She was supposed to be totally. She wrote 2 letters. Okay, she did die, but she also wrote 2 letters. I really kind of wanted it to be like
in the app, it's like, did you experience a problem with this assassination? You're like, yes. And they're like, okay, would you like a credit for your next assassination? Or would you like to bring this person back to life and just refund the whole thing? You're like, I'll just take a credit. I got another assassination next week. I'll take a credit. And then they're like, actually, we're going to offer you a little bit more than you paid and you're like, great, I can actually assassinate an even higher caliber person next week. This is great. Thank you, ass eats.
I'm too busy to do all my own assing here, so that's why I just use the Ass Eats app all the time. It's actually so convenient for me. I know there's like a 40% upcharge for it, but like, honestly, in the time that I save, I feel like I make it back.
It's true. I mean, there's just so much murdering that has to be done in this galaxy that's kind of far away and sort of a while ago.
I also want to say, in these letters that Counselor Paka pens, she does not name her attacker or identify them. It's just
you'd think that would kind of be the most important part of leaving a message while you're bleeding out.
Like, let me know who stabbed you, possibly. Okay, so she penned these letters. So it turns out in these letters, Consular Paka says that her and her friends had foreseen her death via cardiac arrest about 6 days from the current date, but like many years ago. So they had a vision that Consular Paka knew that you're going to die of a heart attack on this day. And they knew it was coming up soon.
She was kind of ready to go out anyway, I guess.
Yeah, that's basically it.
All right.
But that didn't happen because she got fucking stabbed. So the letter to people is like a generic, I've foreseen this and it's a moment of change. You should all band together and stand up for your values. I am dead. Goodbye.
Oh my God, so stupid.
This, of course, results in turmoil because no one's been murdered on Piraeus for centuries. Remember, because of the whole prescience sort of helps that, I guess. Except that hasn't been working anymore because of Reyza, so stabbings can happen now. So, a snap election is called to happen in like about a week or two because of this. Cole is nominated by Darius, even though he's not a seer, so there's a very low chance of him winning.
Right.
Counselor Farron, who is a counselor from another region, is also nominated despite the fact that it's apparently against the rules to be a counselor for 2 regions, but fuck that, who cares?
Yeah,
he's nominated anyway.
It's like having a governor for the same governor for 2 states. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, that's supposedly a rule here, but that actually doesn't matter whatsoever. So the rule is immediately broken upon establishing the rule. He's probably going to win because he wants to rid Piraeus of all off-worlders, and that's popular in these uncertain, unprescient times. He is also aware of who Jass is, but for reasons related to him being high up, or he's aware of Jass because he's high up in the seer political system, so he's privy to some visions about Jass and Reyza, but he's holding back until he's elected, so he has like more sway over things, even though he's already an elected counselor for one region. So I don't know, man. At this point, Jass also casually tells Reyza he thinks their connection is because they are, quote, the last remaining true survivors of Earth.
Hasn't Earth been gone for like a fucking while, though? Like,
yes. Yes. This is almost never mentioned again. Because they are Earthlings, they have these A, telekinetic and telepathic abilities, and B, have a connection because of it.
Where's mine? Where is mine? Where are my Earth powers?
Yes, this is super unclear. And again, this is almost not at all mentioned again about them being from Earth. There is a moment later on where they're having like a mind interaction again, where Jass creates like Earthling civilization remnants, which maybe that means the planet that he was grabbed from was Earth. But I guess, wouldn't you guys know that? Or I don't know. Well, it's very unclear.
I mean, I guess they could be the last of descendants from Earth, maybe?
No. Jass says we are the last true survivors of Earth. It's very specific about that one point, which makes it make less sense.
Yeah, but wasn't Earth destroyed like millennia, like a long-ass time ago? Or am I just making that up in my head?
Yeah, a few millennia ago, according to the text crawl at the start of the book. So, no, it doesn't make sense, Paris, if that's what you're wondering about.
You know,
I would assume it's a descendant thing as well.
Okay, I think this is the first time a summary has given me a fucking headache. I now have caffeine to push back against this. Jesus Christ. Okay, all right. All right, so the Earth stuff makes no goddamn sense.
Nope, no it doesn't.
Great.
Okay, well, it makes so little sense that this is the moment that Jass succumbs to his light withdrawal and falls completely unconscious. I
gotta distract
this
from
is what
that.
put him over this is what put him over the edge. Finally, he's like, oh shit, this doesn't make any sense at all. It just passes out. Jass is basically in a comatose state for a week while the Snap election campaign is being run.
Question.
And Darius is like, yes. Yes.
Are they fucking while he's in a coma? Please don't tell. Please tell me they're not.
Oh, hold on. Just wait. Hold on a second there. So Darius is like, Reyza, go into Jass's mind and wake him up. I'm working on helping him through his light withdrawal with my powers. So Reyza dives into Jass's coma mind, and he is awake and aware in there. It is at this point, Paris, that I will give you my first reading from Black Moon Rising.
Delicious. I await with bated breath.
Okay, so she's diving into comatose Jass here.
Making a real splash.
The sensation that hits me is more than a suggestion of emotion or surroundings. It is lightness. It is darkness. It is a blurring and a sharpening of reality all at once. It is hot and cold, and yes and no. I'm in, then I'm out. No, it says the hot and cold part, but it says it is hot and cold and right and wrong, and the dizzying depths of it all surging through me at once makes my heart stutter in the most dangerous way. For a second, I'm blind, lost inside a rush of power. A bizarre settling feeling takes hold, beginning at the soles of my feet, spilling upward, and my sight returns to me. Moments later, I am no longer in Darius' quarters, looking down on Jass from above. I am lying on my back, my hands pinned high over my head, and Jass is straddling me, his knees gripping my ribcage between them, his dark hair hanging down over his face like a curtain. And he's staring at me with such a furious intensity that it seems as though he's attempting to set fire to me with nothing more than his anger alone.
Yeah, that's what you want in a sexual partner, someone who looks like they want to kill you. That's cool.
You're not supposed to be here, he hisses. His hands tighten around my wrists, stretching my arms a little higher over my head. You're not supposed to hurt me, I snarl back, trying to wrench myself free. The boy on top of me angles his head, scrutinizing me. His eyes are half closed, but the gold is there inside his irises, sparking and flaring as if they possess an energy all of their own, trapped inside them. For an uninvited guest, you're making a lot of assumptions about the rules of etiquette, he whispers. This is my mind, Reyza. You think you can just drop in unannounced and expect tea and cake? Have you met me?
Is tea and cake a thing in the galaxy kind of far away, sort of a while ago?
There's a lot of things that are going to come up that seem to be a weird thing to be present here. Yeah. He's right. This is his mind. Technically, the rules of engagement in our little war don't apply here. Just let me up. I fight to pull my wrists free from his grasp. I came to talk to you, not wrestle. Jass smirks, the devastating smile starting off small but soon commandeering his whole face. Danger flares in his eyes. A good thing, you'd never win. He releases me, pushing back and rocking to the balls of his feet so he can stand up. Free of him, I take in my surroundings for the first time, and my breath leaves my body all at once. We're in the middle of an amphitheater, one I recognize and that is unfamiliar at the same time. Rows of seating stretch up, 100 tiers or more, wrapping their way around the entire amphitheater. Huge white sails snap and billow on the breeze, giving some shade from the light of a single sun that balances like a burnished silver coin in the sky directly overhead. A monstrous bronze statue lies toppled in the dirt at our feet. Huge chunks of rubble and debris litter the ground, and the soft cloying scent of decay hits the back of my nose. This is a dying, dead place, filled with clamoring voices, and yet aside from Jass and I, there isn't another soul in sight. I spin around, remembering and not remembering the place all at once. This is it, isn't it? I whisper. This place, I've been here before. This is the Colosseum on... You can say the word. Earth. Jass casts his gaze around, too, apparently bored. And yes, so it would seem, he replies. Filled with ghosts. Fucking horrible place. I swallow, shielding my eyes against the sun as I search up, scanning the rafters. Why have you brought us here if you hate it so much? I didn't bring us here, you did. That's not possible. I don't remember the place in this kind of detail. This is all you. It has to be. Jass doesn't say anything. He watches me as I look around, his arms folded across his chest, his nostrils flared like a blood horse that's caught a scent. He's just as magnificent now as he is. No explanation is given as to what a blood horse is, but it can catch a scent is all that we know.
Hey.
Apparently, maybe it smells blood, and then you better fucking watch out.
So it's like a shark horse.
Yes, I guessed. He's just as magnificent now as he is when he is awake, and my senses inform me, just as perilous. I have to look away from him for a second in order to gather myself. You've been spending an awful lot of time watching over me, he whispers. Nothing better to do? I brush away his comment with neither skill nor grace. The double eclipse is happening today. The construct ships will be arriving any second now. Jass grins, drumming his fingers against his side. That's not true, is it? Okay, fine, it isn't. But what if it were? Then your seers are all about to die. You are about to die. His bland, unfeeling response forms shards of ice in my bloodstream. You're here too, Jass. If the construct does strike us in the sub-city, you'll die right along with us. Maybe, but if they suspect I might be down here, they'll come and claim me first. I'm not a weapon they can easily replace. I take a step closer to him, steeling myself. I want to put more space between us, not close the gap, but I can't seem to help myself. Are you so sure? Cole told me the construct fighters didn't even try and follow you into the asteroid field when you left the Nexus. Surely they'd have stopped at nothing to pursue you then if they value you so highly. Jass doesn't flinch at my logic. He remains locked onto me, his face blank, but his mind is far from still. I can feel the activity of his thoughts firing in the very air that surrounds us. Lightning fast. He's doing a stellar job of shielding them from me, though. Regis clings to his rulebook at all times. Construct edict dictates resources mustn't be wasted in situations that offer less than an 8% likelihood of success. I know the rulebook he's speaking of. It's a theoretical book, one I studied from cover to cover, strapped to a chair in the Construct's re-education center on the Invictus. I learned it line by line, in fact. Jass is right. Regis would never have allowed his valuable soldiers to follow Jass into that debris field without excellent odds of retrieving him. I'm their best pilot, Jass continues. I can't be matched, and Regis knew that. Here on the ground, trapped inside a maze of tunnels, though, he'll have me cornered with no way out. He will come for me here. Do you want him to? I whisper. I look for the confusion on his face, the conflict urging him in two directions at once, but it doesn't materialize. Yes, I need to return to the Nexus. Why? The word explodes from me, echoing off the broken, shattered remnants of the Colosseum where thousands of our people used to gather in celebration. A single solitary bird wildly flits from the upper tiers, wheeling and spinning all over the place, its cries filling the sky. 1 second it's there, the next it is gone. Jass pretends as if he doesn't notice it, but I can see the pulse jumping at his neck, the same way it's jumping at mine. With the ferocious dust storms that pound the surface of Piraeus, I haven't seen a bird take flight in... Can't remember the last time I saw something so beautiful. Jass blinks, bending down to touch the dirt at his feet with his fingertips. He contemplates the tiny rocks and the grains of sand, no longer looking at me. I have a purpose, he says grimly. Death? Murder? Disorder? They are the only purpose you can have if you go back to the construct. Is that what you want? I don't want anything, he replies. That's the beauty of the construct. There is no room for want, or hope, or desire. There is only the chain of command. There is only obedience and respect. Now you're the one who's lying to himself. I narrow my eyes at him. He hasn't made any move to approach me since he let me up from the ground. I take another step forward. Honestly, I barely realize I'm doing it. Is that what you need? Respect? Where's your heart, Jass Baylar? Your soul? Your conscience? Can't you see that the construct is wrong? I throw my hands in the air. Like I just don't care. Spinning around and gesturing to the once fine structure that now sits in ruins around us. Oh, they destroyed our planet. They killed everyone we ever knew or loved. They took our home. They took our families. How can you want to return to them? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I'm met with a wall of silence. Jass rises, straightening up. Then in 2 long strides, he's suddenly standing in front of me. He was this close to me when we were in the appointments hall after Erica was murdered. He was standing behind me. I didn't have to look up into his face. I didn't feel the full force of his gaze burning into my skin. I do my best not to shrink away from the inferno that I can feel storming within his chest, but my head spins from the effort, threatening to betray me. Jass floods my senses in the most penetrating way. My head is full of him, and there's no escape. I take a step backward, but he follows me, mirroring my movement. This galaxy is filled with hardship, Reyza. Death and destruction have existed since the dawn of time, right alongside life and creation. It's all one and the same. There's no good and evil. There is only the ebb and flow of the universe and the transference of power from one person to the next. One day, peace reigns, the next chaos. If the construct hadn't wiped out our people, then disease and pestilence would have eventually. Or civil war, or natural disaster. Nothing in the universe is permanent. All things die. All things end. Every one of us has to choose how we navigate through the madness. I chose my pathway a long time ago. My course is set. There's a finality to his words that makes me want to sever the connection between us immediately and escape his head. If he's telling the truth, then I'm wasting my time even talking to him right now. He's not going to help us. He's not going to sway or change his mind. Or himself. So Paris, I read that because he's not guilty or like changing his mind about it. He is actively like, yeah, I'm here to murder people, dude. It's great. I'm a part of this fascist empire. He's saying it outright to her.
Yeah, he's like, I'm part of the
here.
Cosmic flow of the universe because there's always bad stuff, so it doesn't matter if you're part of the bad or good because it's always going to all happen anyway. Sure.
Yes. And I might as well be part of the winning side? Really weird reasoning, but hey, it doesn't matter to Reyza because they do end up having some mind sex after that. Okay. After, Reyza offers to help him wake from the coma, and Jass says, I'll get up when I'm ready. So he's like, 5 more minutes. Come on, just let me be in the coma for 5 more minutes, man.
Oh, I know.
I'll get up when I need to. So it's election day, and yada yada, Farron wins, even though, again, that's supposed to be against the rules. Everyone is like, well, he still won, so now he's chancellor of 2 regions, allowing him to consolidate power. Farron is about to tattle on Jass when Reyza decides that now is the time to test her memory wiping abilities, something she's never done before, but knows Jass can do, so obviously she must be able to as well. Turns out that's really hard, and when she gets kind of lost in Farron's mind corridors, she just kind of like fucks it up. Jass takes this moment to wake up because he sensed Reyza's distress, so he bursts into the election hall, or wherever the hell they are, and just mind screams at Farron that if he touches a hair on Reyza's head, he's going to torture and kill him and everyone he loves, and all that. Farron seems spooked about this and backs off. But Jass thinks, I know people like him. He won't really back off. I have to get Reyza out of here before Farron does something drastic. Also, the prophecy did say construct ships are going to be here like tomorrow, so I should probably leave. That evening, Jass goes to Reyza's room, and they have a little back and forth about how they're both dressed half naked, so clearly you're the one trying to seduce me. And guess what? They have their IRL sex scene. Hooray!
Oh, finally!
Jass wakes up the next morning with what I think is the opposite of post-nut clarity.
So it's like mind scrambling, post-nut mind scramble? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, there's a line in here that I really want to read. So I'm going to read a little portion of this part, like when he wakes up the next morning. Okay. Chapter 25. Jass, everything.
Oh no, there's chapter titles?
Yes, there's been chapter titles.
Oh no.
I spared that for you for the most part. I want to be everything she needs. I want to be everything she desires. I want to be more important to her than the air she breathes and the warmth of her skin.
I'm sorry, what?
Now I want too much. What? She wants more important than the air, okay? What's the problem?
Yeah, but he was just talking about how, like, there was nothing but the entropy of the universe, and now he's like, I want to be her air. Like, what? Man, that
inside of you there are 2 wolves.
Yeah, and that pee must have been top tier.
In the dark, Reyza lies unconscious, her head resting on my chest. A show of trust. I want to be worthy of that trust, but I can't see how that will ever come to pass. Her hair is a tangle of spun fibers, the darkest brown to the purest gold, and I can't stop myself from stroking my fingers over it as she sleeps. My hands know her body intimately. Touching her, exploring the lines and curves of her, was a brand new experience in a universe where nothing feels new to me anymore. However, there is a part of me that has always known the shape of her and memorized her strength and her fragility before the very first sparks of life stirred out there in the pitch black hollow of space. There's one question burning in my mind as I lay absolutely still, listening to the soft pull and draw of her even breathing. Is this real? Do I really feel this way about her? If this thing, this connection has been a part of me since before I can remember, how can this tangle of emotion I feel for Reyza be genuine? Is it just providence? Have we already lived 1,000 lifetimes, always had this same connection, drawn to one another over and over again, only to meet and fall in love each time? If so, then is this connection the only reason I feel so strongly right now? Is the tether something I can put aside and forsake because it weakens me and makes me act so damn rashly? Reyza has asked herself these same questions. I felt them eating away at her, but I'm sure she's come to the conclusion that her heart is not the architect of this mess, but her very cells, programmed and designed to seek me out, no matter where or who I am. She said she can't love me, but I know that isn't true. I feel it when I kiss her. I felt it when I was inside her, and she was wrapped around me, clinging to me, praying into my ear for more of me. The connection between us fused our souls together and forged us into one all-powerful, living, breathing thing. I was her, and she was me in that moment. I saw everything we were, we are, and everything we will be. It nearly brought me to my knees. Ever since the construct began my training, I had been their creature. I've done as I was told, and I've turned myself inside out for them, to the point where their approval was all that mattered. When I pushed inside Reyza, her eyes burning into me, her fingernails digging into my back, all that changed. She has no idea the power she holds over me. I'm her creature now, her slave. Fuck going back to the construct. Her approval is the only thing that will motivate me from here on out. And I have no idea how to even form the words to let her know.
Wait a second.
So
Wait a second.
Paris,
has this dude never fucked before?
That seems to be the implication.
How old are they? Is my other question, because that's unclear to me.
It's mentioned when Reyza was picked up, she was like slightly before puberty, and that Jass Baylar was like 4 or 5 years ahead of her, being like 16 or 17. It's been 7 years since then, so they're like 20s, early to mid 20s.
Okay. I mean, I just feel like if you're the galaxy's most powerful warlord guy, like, you know, you'd think maybe this had happened before, but if not, I guess it makes slightly more sense. Like, if they had never had partners before, then that feeling can be pretty powerful and overwhelming, and you can attribute more to it than you probably should. So maybe this does make sense. Maybe.
I mean, all of the construct's conditioning seems to be easily outdone by, like, horniness in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
From puberty hormones to just, like, feeling pussy for the first time ever, I suppose.
You know, and as we said, you know, you'd think they would have, you know, safeguarded against this, but I guess not.
I suppose not. They're like, he'll never get laid. We don't have to worry about that.
All right, well, that's stupid. Continue.
Okay, so that construct brainwashing just seems super weak, man. So Jass slips out of the room before Reyza wakes up. Reyza is instead woken up by Cole, who informs her that Farron had called a council in the dead of night to decree that all off-worlders need to be exiled from Pirius. They run to find Jass because they're worried if Jass and Farron run into each other in the halls, their deception will be over, and this will all be for naught? I don't know what the fuck that means.
What?
They find Jass in a sort of, that Jass was here, but like Farron knows who Jass is, so okay. I don't know what the problem is. They find Jass in a sort of communication/radar room, and when they ask what he's doing, he goes, "Oh, I sent all the comms workers out of here so I could upgrade the system so now they can track objects approaching in hyperspace." What? Reyza and Cole are like, "Okay, whatever. Well, we're leaving because Farron is out to exile us anyway." Cole apparently has a ship stashed some ways away from where they are on the surface. It's a pleasure cruiser that he's been secretly fixing up. Jass goes with them since he wants to protect Reyza. They find the ship, and Jass is like, "Man, that's a real piece of shit." Cole says it'll get him off-world at least, and that's the important part. Jass decides that he's going to pilot it, and they leave Pirius, but not before receiving a broadcast message from the surface that says, "Hey, it's Grand Elder Farron now," because he apparently just took over the whole fucking thing.
Now he's just a boss
saw you guys
in
leaving.
Dark Souls. Like, okay,
yeah,
Grand Elder Farron.
Anyway, I saw you guys leaving. You're not allowed back. We trashed all your shit, and we also told the construct that Jass is with you. Which, like, hey guys, if you've been hiding from the construct this whole time, why would you send a message to them that, hey, your boy is here?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Anyway, shortly thereafter, construct ships are indeed chasing the pleasure cruiser that Reyza, Cole, and Jass are on board. This includes the Nexus, the huge multi-city sized ship that is like the Death Star stand-in where everyone that's higher up in the construct is stationed.
Yeah, just real conveniently on the same ship. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. The Nexus and a bunch of construct raptors chase the group. This is where the author attempts to do some more sci-fi, and it doesn't work. They jumped to hyperspace to try and outrun the Nexus, but the Nexus and its fighters do as well, which, according to the book, shouldn't work because hyperspace travel is limited by the speed of light, and so if their cruiser jumps first, the Nexus should only be able to travel exactly as fast as them at the speed of light, never being able to overtake. But it is gaining on them. The problem here, of course, is that the whole reason hyperspace is a thing is because it's specifically faster than light, since if you were just traveling light speed, it would still take you years to get to the next solar system. So that's not how that works. Anyway, Jass has a brilliant plan. There's a bunch of phase rifle ammunition in the cargo bay for some reason. So he's going to open the cargo bay doors while they're in hyperspace.
What?
Let the ammunition fly out, ignite it all by setting off a medical device that can spark, and that should damage the Nexus enough to slow it down or something.
Wait a second, but there's no air in space, so any fires would go out immediately.
Yes, so he's like, everyone hold your fucking breath.
What?
Actually, he really says, like, everyone take a deep breath and let it out slow while the cargo door is open. We just have to do that for like 30 seconds.
I don't understand
so he does
this plan
that
at all.
Okay,
they're trying
you're not going to understand it a little bit more.
They're trying to do Molotov cocktails in space, but if there's no fucking air in the vacuum of space...
Also, against, like, a Death Star-sized thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna, like, blow some sparks at it? Like, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Okay.
So... He opens the cargo door while he's standing in the cargo bay. He's using his energy to hold himself in place in the cargo bay while the door opens and also to try to spark the ammunition. But oh no, Reyza wasn't secured well enough in her seat and flies out the fucking bay doors. But Jass can also grab her with his mind and slowly reel her in since Reyza allows him to use her energy. They have finally combined energies in this way.
But how is she not dying with the lack of air?
Oh, she is.
Fine.
She is.
Okay. All right, great.
Jass tells Cole that he should be ready to cut the hyperdrive when Jass tells him to, because the plan is this. Jass will pull Reyza in, shut the cargo bay doors, and Jass ignites the ammo as the cruiser cuts its hyperdrive, so the Nexus and the resulting ammunition explosion, like, overtake the cruiser?
No. Just no. That doesn't... Nope. Mm-mm.
Yes. So it's like, if we cut the hyperdrive, the Nexus and the explosion will overtake us and be somewhere else in space. Anyway, they do that, but Reyza is, like, basically dead and needs to be forced CPR'd back to life with some energy manipulation.
Does he just get some thrusts in and that does it? Because, like, that, I would believe that.
In a way. It's an extremely cliche, like, don't you fucking die on me now scene. It's one of those.
Doesn't that happen in the movie I saw, too? Where it's like, don't you fucking die, and it's really stupid. Anyway.
It describes him, like, cracking a rib when he's trying to, like, do the CPR or whatever. Okay, but bad news. The Nexus wasn't destroyed. In fact, it dropped out of hyperspace close to them anyway.
No shit.
Jass spots a construct base on a moon he knows to be nearby. And Paris, I'm going to read you this final text passage here.
Okay.
Because we've got some bad science happening here.
Oh, I can't wait.
Brace, brace, brace. 2 of the construct's phase missiles flash across the bow of the Araxis. That's their cruiser that they're on. But the last of them hits. The ship rocks violently, and I tumble into the seat behind Cole, grimacing as my body tries to process the pain that flares in my side. What planet is this? I wheeze, clutching at my ribs. Jass silences an alarm, hissing. Not a planet. A moon. If it's a moon, then where is its planet? It's a rogue. It achieved escape velocity millions of years ago. It's been slowly floating through space ever since.
So, I'm sorry, achieved escape velocity? A planet?
Yeah, like technically if a moon, it can escape the gravity well of a planet. It happens sometimes, I think. Like if you just hit it at the right moment. The only moon I know of like that. I stop speaking. Gods, I don't even want to entertain the notion that Jass might have brought us to the most unspeakable place in the entire galaxy. Cole does it for me, though. Yep, that's Archimedes, he says grimly. A red light fills the cockpit, bathing everything in scarlet. Critical error, imminent system failure. Critical error, imminent system failure. The onboard computer's announcement fills the entire ship. Doesn't sound good. What can I do? I rasp, looking around, looking for a purpose, a way to prevent what now seems inevitable. Too late for emergency measures. Prepare for impact, Jass says. We'll separate from the ship as soon as we're lower than 4,000 feet. I fumble with the safety harness, struggling to make my numb fingers clip in the buckles. They're in an escape pod. Archimedes is growing in the viewport and fast. We're coming in hot, way too hot. And it doesn't look like there's anything we can do about it. There's no atmosphere down there, I whisper. We'll deal with that when we land, Cole says. His hands are a blur as they fly across the nav panel, adjusting the Arax's pitch and yaw. We're never going to make it, I say, this to myself, but Jass hears me. Yes, we fucking are. We haven't dragged this piece of shit through hell and back only to fail at the 11th hour, he huffs down his nose, nostrils flared. And I haven't brought you back to life just to lose you now. Flashes of his memories wash over me. Images of me, my lifeless body, the panic and fear he felt as he did his best to revive me. It's harrowing to see myself like that. Even more harrowing is the hurt that fills me. Jass, pain. I can't stop to analyze his feelings right now, though. There'll be a better time. All that matters now is our survival. Deep ravines and crevasses slash through the surface of Archimedes, the majority of the natural rock formations running perpendicular to one another in great striations that blur past the viewports. We're so low now, much lower than 4,000 feet, that I can plainly see the ground below, rocks like black ice or highly polished glass with edges sharp and jagged enough to cut. I thought we were going to separate. My voice sounds high-pitched and entirely unlike my own. Jass grunts as he pulls on the controls, sweat marking his brow. There's something wrong with the emergency eject mechanism. Can't you just force it open with your mind? Tried. It's not playing ball. Not playing ball? Release mechanisms have no free will of their own. They can't just decide not to open in the face of Jass's mental manipulation. There's only one reason he wouldn't be able to open it, and that's because he's drained. I can feel it too. I'm alive with the energy strobing through my veins, coating every strand of hair in my head, forging unbreakable bonds with my cells on a genetic level. But I can't access it like I normally can. I can't plunge my hands into the depths of it, only skim my fingertips along its surface, as if something is blocking me. Cole punches the instrument panel, snarling, and the screen splinters. I can't make it work, he says. Readouts are saying the Nexus is right behind us. The readouts are right, Jass says grimly. Cole's hands fly across the controls, adjusting and correcting as best as he can. We're approaching the ground at a frightening speed now, and nothing he's doing seems to have any effect. That can't be. How? He demands. There is no gravity on Archimedes. None whatsoever. The Nexus can fly all the way down to the surface. They'll be landing right on top of us. Gods, why did you bring us here, Jass? This was the worst idea possible. Jass' eyes glossed over. He looks distant, strange. This was as good a place as any. Regis would have caught up with us no matter what, no matter how far we ran and where we ended up. Archimedes is barely inhabited. Maybe 50 scientists lives here, and it's a construct base. They're not going to fire on their own facility, not if they don't have to. We'll be able to set down and surrender without anyone else losing their lives. Cole stops moving. He looks like he's just been stung. You brought us here so we could give ourselves over to the constructs? Okay, Paris. So, I'm sure you caught there is no gravity on this moon?
Yeah.
Which, I don't know how that works or how that would affect their landing situation and why the Nexus can catch up to them in that way. This is the most baffling science that is happening in this sci-fi thing of where this moon just has no gravity, and that means that this ship will be able to land better right on top of us.
Yeah, and also, like, if there's 50 scientists down, how are they down there if there's no no gravity?
I guess they're just floating around doing experiments. It's like an ISS, but like on a rock surface that, again, has no... It's not mentioned that, like, oh, they have the anti-gravity field on for some stupid fucking reason, because that would probably ruin a lot of science experiments. It's just this moon has no gravity. As if some large celestial bodies just have no gravity. When gravity exists because of things be big and they attract things.
Yeah,
so
I guess if it's like,
I don't know.
What if it's like a really tiny moon, like real baby moon? Maybe the gravity wouldn't be.
But even that would have some gravity.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, they crash-ish onto like the surface of Archimedes, but the Nexus fires phase missiles at the pod, crippling it, allowing Stryker, Jass' commanding officer, to board their pod. He's all like, we had a tracker on you, Baylar, and we wanted to know where you were going. Haha. Jass is like, I was on a secret mission to find this place for Regis. Don't you want to take credit for that? He'll be mad at you if he thinks I was successful at this and you weren't. So Jass acts like Reyza and Cole are his prisoners, and Reyza is feeling all betrayed. He telepathically tells Reyza, like, no, baby, it's all an act, but she doesn't fully believe him and feels all betrayed. Then he bends down to Cole and is like, the construct and I are going to kill everyone on Piraeus. The end.
Okay.
That's the end.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yup.
And no sequel was ever written.
That's probably for the best. Well, that took a really long time.
Yes, I'm sorry that I went for an hour and a half on this.
I'm gonna tell you on the next episode that's my book, I cut out so much shit because I was like, I don't want this to be an hour and a half. And now I'm like,
I failed on that front. I've cut out quite a bit here too that I'm going to briefly gloss over in the rubric section of this. Okay, so on to the rubric here.
Thank you for suffering through that because that sounded
that
very
one
bad.
Sucked. I hated every second of this, man. Okay, technical construction, which is going to be actually sort of weird for me here because of all the weirdness that happened in my PDF copy that was fucked up. Despite that, when I watched portions of the Jenny Nichols video that Miles mentioned, she mentions all sorts of typos that were also in my copy, but not the super egregious, like the letter I seems to be impossible to occur in this one. So I think it's like a 50-50 scenario here. I'm still going to give this a -1 on technical construction just for the fact that there were a bunch of egregious typos that were present in the published copy as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, so maybe the typographic stuff where it was clearly just like a miss, like however they took the original text and brought it into a PDF, like fucked up some, like you said, like the I's being P's and stuff. Maybe that stuff shouldn't be blamed on the author, but
I'm not going to blame that. But again, I used other reviews and reference material to like figure out if there were also as many typos as there were. And there were. Other people referenced this in their hard copies. And generally, the whole thing feels like the roughest draft I've ever seen in a lot of ways. So I am just going to roundly give this a -1 for the most part. And we're going to move straight on to plot construction here, man. And it is just a complete mess. Stuff just happens.
Sounds like
in order to get to like that IRL sex scene. And then the big dramatic, like, light speed chase scene. It feels like everything was centered around just getting all of this to happen. And everything else barely makes sense. Like, the whole, like, election plot and the clairvoyance and the prophecies, it does not hold up when you begin to think about it for even a second.
Yeah, like the whole they're from Earth thing is also just not, there's no internal logic to make that make sense. And then it seems like there are references to things that don't quite make sense, like tea and cake. I mean, are those even concepts in this sort of world?
Paris,
you know?
There's a reference to Cliff Notes in this book where someone says, like, I'll give you the Cliff Notes later.
No.
As if, like, Cliff Notes are a thing that exists in the Cliff Notes is a brand name of like a summarizing thing that we all used in like elementary and high school when we didn't read the book and had a book report due or whatever, because the guy that started the company was named Cliff. So like canonically that guy exists in this universe or something, and the idea of Cliff Notes has transcended millennia into the evolution of the human species.
Well, no, because isn't the whole Star Wars thing that it's actually before our present time?
Sure, that's Star Wars, but remember, this is legally distinct and Earth existed.
Oh, that's worse.
So this is
worse.
A short time after in a galaxy nearby, which is the joke I made at the start for the setting.
Okay, all right. I guess it's bad either way.
It is.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even read this, and I caught a couple things like that, just the way things are described, and yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of anachronism happening here. But like I said, the plot is generally messy. There was a point that I did not really bring up that I wanted to bring up here. So Darius thinks that Jass Baylar is bad just because he's addicted to light, and if he weans him off the light, that he'll turn into a good person that wants to help people instead of murdering them all the time.
I don't know, man. It seems like those are two separate problems.
There's no reason for that, and the whole time Jass is like, yeah, I fucking love murdering. Okay, also, I didn't read you, like, the final section of this book, because there is a line that I want to bring up here. I should perhaps be leaving this for like the prose section, but it's relevant at this moment. This is sort of like his final speech to everyone. This is from Reyza's perspective. What the hell is happening? What the fuck is going on? This is the problem with you people, he says stiffly, him being Jass. You keep telling me how good I am, that I'm better, but the problem is I'm not. I'm exactly what I am and what I've always been. Jass Baylar. I'm the bad guy, Reyza, and bad guys do bad things.
Oh, boy.
So some real I'm good... I'm good at the end of Rings of Power Season 1 energy there, which is why I wanted to bring
good!
I'm bad, actually. I wanted to say this because, like, at no point does Jass ever give anyone the impression that he could be good, except Reyza, who he's like, I'll be good for you and protect you because you're hot and I'm horny for you.
Just because you want to fuck someone doesn't mean that they're good. Okay.
Just because you want to protect that person specifically. As far as rules following, just LMAO, honestly. Like, the part where, like, everything is immediately broken, especially like, the biggest one being the whole election thing where they're like, oh, Councillor Farron can't be elected as representative of 2 places, but yes, he can. So just don't put that in as part of your plot. Just be like, he can be elected as 2. It's unprecedented, but it can happen or whatever.
Right.
I don't know, man. Like,
also,
just,
but
why
did that rules. Why did that subplot even need to happen? It didn't seem to have anything to do with it.
It's a reason for Cole and Reyza to want to get off world, essentially, so that they can be then captured by the construct.
Okay, fine.
Which also didn't really need to happen because they could have just been on world when the construct came to fuck around with them.
Right. Yeah, okay.
I think it's the reason where, like, why would Councillor Farron or Grand Elder Farron contact the construct to come and get them? And he did it as a way to basically just like tattle on Jass being there, which is a fucking stupid idea because it's just going to point you right to them. So, and also with the rules following, like, like you said, the being from Earth means that you have these abilities and that you're the last survivors of Earth, not just descendants. That is a flagrant disregard for any attempt at rules following. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Character quality is like, this is the fan fiction thing in its most purest distilled form. I haven't read something like this since I read terrible fan fictions when I was a teenager on like fanfiction.net or whatever. The protagonists are here only to be horny for each other. Jass is somehow the deepest character in that he has the tiniest bit of mental conflict, but it's not even engaging because if your conflict is, man, being a murderer feels great, but this lady I'm horny for doesn't like that. When you don't even really know that lady and it's just your horniness taking over your brain is not an interesting read. To be clear, they don't really know each other that well except for like the sex dreams that they share together, and they just do that all the time. They don't really like talk or interact.
Just the biggest, like, they're both building each other up in their own heads, and like that's actually not the person that they're interacting with. It's just it's the idea.
There's no
of the
actual reason given for attraction besides like a physical attraction that is a result of this connection that they share. That is the only thing. That's the only reason given here.
I think it is like the connection itself is interesting, right? Like wanting to find out why you have this connection with someone when seemingly this is unheard of. Sure, I can see that being intriguing. But that's not really what they're not trying to figure that out. So
yeah, and it's also not a compelling romantic angle to be like, I like this person just because.
Right.
Right? Like, don't we want to like someone for some reasons other than because I feel a vague connection?
Yeah, I mean, especially because
don't we want that?
Yeah, especially when they're on opposite sides of this very polarized political situation.
So, all in all, Paris, -1 on plot construction. A massive -1.
Oh man, I just saw some of these bullet points. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah? You like these?
Yeah.
You like these?
Oh, yeah. I complete a set of push-ups was one of them, so I don't know what that's about.
And I'm just smashing all this into prose quality and dialogue because there's dialogue and prose happening here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Here's a little... I'm just going to hit you with a bunch of snippets right now, Paris. These are going to be like real fast ones here. Just lines that I thought should be highlighted.
Drive-bys, just some drive-by lines.
Yes. I need to wake up, I say. I can't stay with you forever. Jass kisses my neck again, and my resolve takes another hit. We've already had sex in our dreams. We've already touched and kissed each other's bodies. I've already succumbed to the darkest, most shameful need I could ever possibly have. What could be the harm? Don't worry. I'll let you wake up, Jass pants, even though my dick's going to hate me almost as much as you do.
No. No. Oh, that's terrible dialogue. Jesus Christ.
That's very terrible dialogue.
I'm just preparing for what I complete a set of push-ups means.
Here you go. In the small bathroom attached to my room, I shower and I shave. I'm beginning to feel much better than I did. This is Jass. I stretch out my body again, testing for weaknesses or any hidden injuries, and when I've ascertained that there are none, I drop to the ground and I complete a set of push-ups. 100, 200, 300, 1,000. Sit-ups next. I don't even bother to count. I do them until my stomach burns and I can't physically lift my body up one more time.
Okay.
So just busting out a cool 1K push-ups out of boredom or
also,
whatever.
Like 1,000 push-ups and sit-ups, that takes hours to do.
Yes, it does say hours pass in the next lines.
I mean, how do you think
just walking by Jass Baylar's like Roman looking in the wood, like he's doing push-ups, and then you like go have lunch and you come back an hour later and he's still just doing
I mean, how do you think he keeps his perfectly square physique? I mean,
right.
He has to
if you do enough push-ups and sit-ups, if you do 1,000 of them a day, you start becoming a rectangle. A very sexy rectangle, though, with like so many abs, Paris.
Wait, is he a square or a rectangle? I've been saying square. Now you're saying rectangle.
That's true. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
A rhombus of some variety.
Yes. It's a very sexy abbed rhombus is what's happening here.
Wait. Sorry. Wait, no. A rhombus is a square, right? I'm getting this fucked up.
It can be. It's so a rhombus is a square without like 90-degree angles.
But it can't be a rectangle. So what's the word I'm looking for? It's not rhombus. If it could be a square or a rectangle, is it a parallelogram?
Perhaps the parallelogram also is
quadrilateral.
Like
is that what I'm looking for?
Yes,
quadrilateral.
Yes.
Yeah, quadrilateral. All right, sorry, I fucked that up. I don't know geometry.
I'm not going to really read this next line because I just want to tell you that early on in the book, when Jass is escaping the Nexus and the Construct, he's flying through the asteroid fields, and he has this thought to himself where he's like, oh, they could never catch me because I helped design these raptors.
But he's like 22.
Yes, casual throwaway that he has like in-depth engineering experience, despite the fact that like supposedly he's been undergoing like telepathic training. So he also had the time to study up and help an entire fascist empire be the best starship designer at the same time. So
he's both like a mechanical and aerospace engineer in addition to...
Yes.
Okay.
He just is the best pilot. I think just because like this is kind of a thing that like Darth Vader was. You know, he was like a strong force user and a good pilot. So that must mean that you're also a good engineer if you have these abilities. I don't understand that. And I forget,
is Kylo Ren Darth Vader's...
No,
Grandpa?
he is.
Wait, how does I forget? I forget.
He's Princess Leia and Han Solo's son. He's Ben Solo.
Right. She's just such a stupid fucking. Sorry. Every name. I just remember going. Adam Driver does not look like the genetic output of those two people. It just seemed like it didn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
Sure.
Weird casting choice is my point.
Here's a little bit more of some really good writing here.
Oh my God, Chris, I just saw a note that said page 620.
Yes.
How long
They were
is
quick
this?
pages. Don't worry about it.
Oh, God.
Reyza nearly falls backward, and Cole catches her, wrapping an arm around her in order to keep her on her feet. An insidious fog gathers inside my own head, twisting my thoughts for a second. Cole shouldn't be touching her that way. He shouldn't have his arm around her shoulders. If anyone should be breaking her fall, it should be me. That's such a pathetic thought to have.
Yeah. When you're like the most powerful person in the galaxy, It especially doesn't make a lot of sense. You should be pretty self-secure at that point. Like,
yes. I'm going to get into a little bit of some dialogue here now, even though there was some dialogue in there, but this is like a little bit more dialogue focused that gives us the quality of writing that we have here.
Oh, yeah. Hit me.
Okay. The last thing Reyza wants is more time with you, Cole says. I, on the other hand, have a fairly open calendar. If you want to teach me to lie like a conscript traitor, then please, I'd relish the opportunity. Maybe afterward we can play some music, drink some tea. I haven't had much downtime recently. I stare at the back of Cole's head as if it will crack open like a nut and spill his weirdness out all over the place. I haven't seen anyone else joke or employ sarcasm around Jass. It's just as obvious as night is night and day is day. Jass is not the sort of person you engage with in witty banter. Cole just doesn't give up, though. Jass blinks carefully as he swivels his head to look at the other man. You wouldn't like my kind of music, he says. Too much screaming.
So there's heavy metal and...
Remember that edgelord stage you had, Paris, when you were like, I like metal and it's screaming and it's scary music? I had that stage for like a year, I think. Well before I was in my 20s.
Why would this... Like, that is... Why? And again, like... If you want to establish that these things exist, I just think you need to work for it a little bit. You can't just throw in, like, by the way, there's, like, Screamo in this version of Star Wars or something.
Or, like, maybe death metal, It could
maybe.
Also... Okay, so on the whole, hopefully that gives you a picture of what's going on here with regards to moment for prose quality and dialogue.
Doesn't sound good.
Oh no, I read you the best parts, I think.
Okay.
So a square -1 on this one.
Wow, not even a 0 credit. Damn.
Nope,
harsh.
-1. Now this is the one that's going to be challenging for me. Terriblo's presence. So this is possibly a self-imposed, inflicted Terriblo's presence because of all the weird typos and things. I really did feel like the tentacles were reaching out for me on this one because of that, but I don't know if that's squarely the book's fault or perhaps rhombusly the book's fault because we're having trouble with our geometry
Quadrilaterally the book's fault.
So I don't know where I want to land on this. There's definitely wackiness here in terms of the plot. I'm not giving it a 1. It's at least a 0. I'm just unsure if my personal feeling of all the formatting weirdness I had to deal with because of how I came upon this book and decided to consume it should factor into the score here. So I'm asking your help here, Paris.
I feel like chaos levels are high. I mean, you pointed out all these problems with science, with plot, with internal consistency. I mean, the romance doesn't make none of it. It all seems pretty chaotic. I think you are safely, you can safely put this in a quadrilateral of chaos, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because I really wanted to give this a -1 as well, man. This is just, I felt the tendrils encircling me at all times. It was such a chore to get through this. So it says 700 pages because the version that I had on my books app, everything is formatted weirdly and because of how it ported over, there was also some pages where it would be a sentence and then blank space. There was at one point a page that was just blank for whatever formatting error reason was happening in the importing into my books app. So I really think that for every 5 pages that I read was 1 page in reality in the published form.
Because I think when we were looking at this after Miles had suggested it, I think it was 300 and something pages, right?
It was about close to 300 for that reason. So
you had many pages, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That I had to swipe with my finger 700 times to get through the book, and that was painful.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Terriblo's presence also a square -1 because boy was it chaotic.
Quadrilateral -1.
Yes, sorry. Should this exist, Paris? And honestly, I don't even want to really run through these questions. Would readers of this genre enjoy this? I guess having dived into the Reylo fandom a little bit, I think a portion of them literally just want anything that's vaguely even kind of looks like Kylo Ren and Rey from afar for I don't know what reason, because there's so many published works that are suspected to be Reylo fan fiction with the name swapped. This is a thing.
I just don't understand the obsession. Why these two characters?
So I suppose if you're that person, you might enjoy this, but if you just want like a sci-fi romance thing, this is trash. Do we feel as if the author's goal was met? If the goal is to just have a quick goon sesh to like the Kylo Ren and Rey thing, but with slightly different character names, then okay, sure.
Well, but considering they purged the work from the internet, maybe they didn't.
So perhaps not. Maybe not. Does it add anything new or interesting or novel? Not really. It's just fan fiction stuff. Did it take something from me? Yes. It took a lot of spare time from me and the knowledge of like, or the ignorance of like how deep the Reylo fandom goes.
Yeah.
What should someone read instead of this? I don't know. Any other sci-fi thing that has a romance angle in it. I'll even recommend The Expanse which has a decent romance, like a very... It's not like all romance series, so don't go to The Expanse looking for that, but they have some very decent human relationships happening in there that aren't just about horniness in terms of romance.
Magical mind horniness.
Also, the sci-fi in there is hard-ish in a way that, like, it's much better than there's no gravity on this moon, so we're fine.
I don't know enough about gravity, but even that sounds suspicious to me. So I don't know. Moon scientists right in.
Paris, I fucking promise you that it's impossible to have a non-gravitationally pulling moon. I fucking promise you. So Paris, should this exist, also a -1. This is a -5 out of 5 on my rubric.
Sounds
pretty
accurate.
Awful. This is awful to the point where in the can we fix this section, I'm going to say no. Throw the whole fucking thing out. And if you want like sci-fi romance, don't base it off of Kylo Ren and Rey, who are some of the most uninteresting sci-fi characters I think I've ever like experienced, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it would be one thing if somebody was like, you know, when I saw those movies, that romance didn't make sense. I'm going to try to dissect this and figure out how it could make sense and write that. Like, you know, not for me, but I could respect that. Whereas this doesn't attempt to do that. It's just like, no, we just want these two characters to bone. More scenes of them boning in their minds.
Yes. There is no fixing this unless you like really start from complete scratch. So it's not worth it. It is just not worth it.
Well, it seems like the author came to that conclusion as well, since it was
scorched
from the internet.
Yeah. In some ways, good on Callie Hart. I did not really go too deeply into her other things. It's more like she has like it's like a werewolf frat house romance series with a bunch of wet men on the covers.
Okay.
And then there's like one that's like Rebel High, and it seems to be about like a cheerleader outcast and a football star outcast, which you would think would be top of the social echelon, but they're not in this school. And then there's her Quicksilver Romantasy series, which it's just, you know, that's her popular one, which seems to be like all the rage right now. I guess she figured out it's easier to do fantasy than sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, if she was already successful with that stuff, I don't get why she would put out this like half-baked piece of garbage. Like, why would you do that?
Maybe this was before her success as Callie Hart.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
I will add that she has like 50 published novels, and she is successful.
Christ.
This is a successful author.
Yeah, well, you know, you can't get it right every time.
Sure.
I
so
guess.
I mean, if this is like a weird shitty fluke and she realized that and scrubbed it from the internet, and like her other work is better, like I guess good on, like fine, awesome. I'm glad you had the self-awareness to realize that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. That's it for this episode of Terrible Book Club. So I'm going to thank our patrons and Ko-fi donors. Shout out to our lurkers on Patreon who aren't currently donating, but who still grace us with their watchful gaze, like 50, Anna, Anya, Arant, PB89, Carol, Caroline, Eldritch, Nemo, George Gray, Jan, Katie, Kristen, Last Man on Earth 1, Robin, Samantha, Throttle19, and Zoe. And our actual paying patrons, like our bad bookworms, Ben, Donnie, Emily, Jacoby, Jared, Scott, and Will. Our exacting editors, Kieran, David, D, Emmy, Funny Robot with Antennas, Greg, Harry, 7, Martin, Rupia, Cutie, and the Ugly One. Our loathsome librarians, Veronica, Beast with the Least, Yanka, Luchek, Patricia, Julius, of the Void, the Talk-Reading Unicorn of the Hot Springs. And our pesky publishers like Miles May. Especially thank you, Miles May, for this episode. What a truly terrible find. and Austin, Patrick, and Fred. Don't forget our Ko-fi donors like Mark, Tracy, and our ever-faithful Kiwi Thing and Excavating Lizard, along with Martin F. Brunna and Matthew, who relieved us of some terrible books. If you want some terrible books we've read for the show, you can buy them over on our Ko-fi page. Thank you all so much.
We know it's coffee, and we don't care, because it looks like Ko-fi.
Yes. Yes. Also, like, can I say, like, the Patreon chat, like, after finding out that Patreon added the chat feature, y'all have really been up in there just...
Chris didn't know about it forever. I was the only one. And now it's just been exploding with delicious, terrible book.
Oh my God. There is so much terrible books in there that we can definitely fill out the schedule. So, like, if you want your patron request to be considered, send it in soon. It's going to be March when this episode comes out. So hopefully... we have filled out the schedule a lot more, but like, please send them in soon. There's already so much to choose from in that Patreon chat that we can probably fill the schedule out soon if we wanted to.
Yeah, get those recs in. All right, Chris, well, thank you for taking this one for the Terrible Book team, because I think I would have suffered greatly. So I appreciate Appreciate you
I'm
shouldering
off
that
to
burden.
find a non-gravitational pulling moon to try to land on, I suppose, because like if I can find that, I feel like I would win some sort of science award or whatever. Like, check out this moon that has no gravity.
So we need what? Space scientists to write in. We also need geometrists to write. I don't know. We need a lot of experts to counsel us on all these things in the book.
Geonomancers.
We need Star Wars experts. Actually, if you're Star
if you know
Warian
more about
scholar,
the Reylo fandom or like Star Wars Force lore about connections that we just don't know about, because I'm not bothering with that shit.
No.
Feel free to write in. All right, Paris. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Terrible Book Club. Terrible Book Club is an independent podcast produced by your hosts, Paris and Chris. Sound design and audio editing by Chris, with sound effects and music by Epidemic Sound and sometimes also Chris. Our theme song is Kiss by Yearn, which is, you guessed it, actually also Chris. You can find more of his soothing synthy sounds on Bandcamp at yearn.bandcamp.com. Do you want us to review a book of your choice on the show? Do you want access to some extra audiovisual weirdness? If so, become a patron at patreon.com/terriblebookclub. If you'd like to send us a one-time tip instead, you can do that at ko-fi.com/terriblebookclub. You can also support TBC for free by sharing the show on social media, following our accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Goodreads, telling your friends about your favorite episode, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or anywhere else on the internet. To send us book recommendations or your adorable pet photos, send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com.